I need to get a hotspot.
Yeah. Costs you like $30 a month.
Yeah. I mean, I can turn my phone into a hotspot, but that's to connect it to other devices.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
It's like a Wi-Fi PC.
yeah, yeah.
All right, since I'm portable, I'm going to take a walk around.
Okay, go
Thank you.
ahead. Just find me before.
Indeed.
Oh, okay, I just opened it. Stick to this side.
All right. The guy on the right over there is one of my roommates.
Oh, really?
This chick over here in the pink, like schmuck, she's another one of my roommates.
That's cool.
They're like code pink.
Oh, that's awesome. Good old code pink.
Good old code pink.
I mean, if I get a point. The farther I back up, the farther out my arm goes.
Please, we're gonna start. Okay.
As far as I'm going, I'm not
Yeah,
moving
no, I'm not.
because I've got look, I've got such bad quality that warning poor network connection message does not go away.
Do you need power?
No, it's not power. It's like Wi-Fi or like signal connection.
Oh.
So it makes my everything's all pixely and stuff. Like you can't read any of those signs. So that's why I'm like,
We're going to begin the formal portion of the program, and I just want to know if everybody on the far side can hear me. Can everybody on the far side hear me? Yes? Is it loud enough? Yes? Okay. So basically, we are gathered here today to remember Al-Nakba, the disaster that fell upon the Palestinian people with the creation of the State of Israel. And it was a real Nakba, a disaster of immense proportions. 800,000 Palestinians made refugees in numerous countries, millions of dunams of land lost to a newly created Zionist state, and the destruction of upwards of 500 Palestinian villages bulldozed out of existence by the Jewish forces to erase all the traces of Palestinians on the land that they had inherited for centuries. Today, we remember. Today, we confirm our right to return to our homes. Today, we recognize that the Nakba continues in the policies that Israel imposes on Palestinian society in a continued attempt to break that society, destroy it, and render it non-existent. We're also gathered in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Palestine, especially with our heroes, the prisoners languishing unjustly in the Israeli prisons, who have just ended an unprecedented hunger strike in history that for some has lasted over 77 days. We are gathered here today to support their protest against the brutal treatment of the occupying authorities of the longest occupation in modern times. And they didn't want much. They simply wanted human dignity. They wanted freedom from solitary confinement, an end to detentions without charges, a chance to see the faces of their families whose visits they had been inhumanely deprived of. It is to them that we bow today, to their perseverance in the face of cruelty, their courage in the face of injustice, their commitment to a free and independent Palestine, a Palestine of olive trees, of fig trees, a Palestine of Jaffa oranges and the freshest fish from the waters of Akka, the Palestine of our forefathers and our grandfathers. They carry the torch of our struggle as a people seeking dignity and a return to a homeland that we were forcibly extracted from. To them, we turn for inspiration. In our lives in the diaspora, as we battle borders and papers and documents and interrogation and exile and refuge and discrimination, deprived from that basic of all human rights, a right to a homeland that we can call our own. It is as if the prisoners in their strife were screaming with their empty stomachs and their protruding ribs for all of us. The Palestinian people are here and they live on. The Palestinian people will not go away as much as Israel would wish us to. So I'm going to finish up by saying, we remember, we are here and we are there, and to there one day we shall return. So one thing we're trying to do is bring the whole plight of Nakba to mainstream, to educate and to inform. And one of the things we have survivors that have joined us today and people offering testimonials. We have artifacts from 48 and we have a diary and a key and some other things on display. And I'm going to turn the program over to Dina, who's going to now introduce the people that are going to be speaking. Dina.
Our first speaker will be Mrs. Nawal Dajani. She is a distant relative in this far-flung extended family, lived with her family in the German colony of East Jerusalem. When she was 14, her family, including 4 brothers and 8 uncles, were driven out and ended up in Egypt, where they lived for many years. Her mother died in Egypt and her father died in Jordan, and she immigrated to the U.S. in 1998. On her behalf, tonight we will have Ms. Samar Najia, her daughter, telling us her story of the Nakba.
My mother is Nawal Ahmed al-Tajani. My mother is Nawal Ahmed al-Tajani. She was born in 1934 in Jerusalem, Palestine. I'm here to tell you her story on her behalf. These words may sound a bit matter-of-fact, even dry at times, perhaps because, as with many Palestinians of her generation, she has been numbed by the retelling of her story over and over again to deafened ears. This audience may be Palestinian, in which case we may be preaching to the choir, but for those of you who are not, she hopes this can shed some light into what it meant for Palestinians to lose their homeland. She hopes that mainstream media will give equal weight to the victims of the Nakba as they have to other human tragedies. I will start by telling you that my mother still yearns for her Palestine, contrary to the expectation that a new home means a new homeland. My mother still looks at Palestine as her only legitimate place of residence. Yes, my mother goes shopping and she sees friends here and there. She does the normal things people do, but she lives with a heaviness of heart and an awareness of the daily suffering of her people. Her identity as a Palestinian will never leave her. She will never disconnect from it just because she has a new home. Life in Palestine was not a rural, sheep-herding existence by any means, and my mother's childhood, as she remembers it, is a story of a child growing up in a culturally diverse urban environment. She didn't live in a tent or a desert oasis.